Last time we talked about the skin, right? We talked about all the parts and pieces within the integumentary system. So the skin, we talked about the hair, the nails, many of the functions there. Now we're going to talk about bones. The integumentary system is composed of, remember, the epidermis, which is stratified squamous epithelial cells. Then we had the dermis, which was areolar connective tissue, and then reticular connective tissue, along with the accessory structures, which had their own. Bone is a little different. Bones themselves, or at least the skeletal system as a whole, is going to be composed of, well, first and foremost, our bones, right? Well, bone is going to have two primary tissue types that are going to make up bones. We're going to see spongy bone and we're going to see compact bone, okay? But we're also going to see our spongy bone and compact bone have a covering of a different connective tissue and then be lined with yet another connective tissue, okay? Then we have to have cartilage, which is going to be found basically on the ends of our long bones, or allowing the bones to interact with one another. We have to have cartilage. We also are going to find cartilages connecting things like our ribs to our sternum, connecting our pubic bones together, and then in between the vertebrae of our spinal cord or our spinal column. These are all going to be different types of cartilages as well. Between our vertebrae, we're going to find fiber cartilage between our pubic bones and in our knees. That's all going to be fiber cartilage. Here, though, we're going to have hyaline cartilage, and the hyaline cartilage is what we're going to find in most of our skeletal cartilages. We're also going to find lots of connective tissues in the form of our ligaments. Okay, so a ligament is simply going to be a connective tissue that's going to connect bone to bone. Okay, so anytime we need to connect bone to bone, we're going to use dense, regular connective tissue and sheets, and those sheets are going to be found lengthwise. That's where we're going to get a lot of our strength, and we're going to call those ligaments. Okay, there's going to be lots of other connective tissues in here, but as you can tell, we are talking primarily about connective tissues. Lots and lots and lots of different connective tissues are going to be found in our skeletal system. Okay. Now, most of these, like I said, though, are going to be, of course, be the bones. These are going to have or form our framework of our body, give us stuff to attach muscles to, stuff like that. They're going to have lots of other functions too. Okay. But like I said, the two main tissue types in bone are going to be our compact bone and spongy bone. Compact bone is going to make up the vast majority of the weight of our skeleton. So if you were to walk over here and pick this thing up, 80% of the weight of the bones is going to come from compact bone, okay? Compact bone is going to give our bones their strength. It's also going to be what gives our bones their smoothness on their outside and interior surfaces, okay? So if, say, part of the bone needs to face, well, like in your skull, we have a smooth bit up here that's facing the skin on the outside, but we also have to have it be smooth on the side that faces the brain so that we don't have this big rough stuff actually facing the brain, which could scratch it and gouge it out and all that kind of stuff. None of that sounds good, okay? So anytime we need a smooth surface, we will also use compact bone, okay? Now, in the case of something like the bones of the skull, we're also going to surround them, or that compact bone is going to be found on the outside of some spongy bone. Okay, spongy bone we're going to call cancellous because it's going to be filled with lots of holes, or trabecular because it's going to be made of these little bridges. However, it's also going to look very much like a sponge. So if you've ever looked at a kitchen sponge, for instance, you'll notice that it's mostly empty space. Okay, that's why they can absorb a whole bunch of water, because it has a whole bunch of empty space in which it can absorb water. Okay, the actual spongy bit is basically going to be those little blue strings and stuff like that that connects or holds all of those empty places open. So it's going to look porous. It is very, very light because it is not dense, because we don't have all that calcium just stacked on top of one another. It's only going to make up around 20% of our bone mass. Now, in the case of something like our long bones, something where we need a bunch of strength, okay, where do you think we're going to find that spongy bone? Would it be right here, like where I'm holding it? Is that a good place for us to put a bunch of spongy bone? Probably not, right? Because this is where we're going to be exerting force, right? This is where the bending forces and weight are going to be primarily placed where the bone is going to be under its biggest stress. So that means this is the part of the bone that we need to be the strongest. So this region of the bone, what we're going to call the diaphysis, this part is going to be composed of compact bone. However, the ends, well, do the ends of these bones need to be as strong per unit area as this part? No, it just needs to have the overall strength that this part has, but it's spread over a much larger area, which means we're spreading that force over a larger area. We don't need it to be quite as dense. So the ends of our long bones are going to contain the spongy bone, okay? Now, in the cartilages, we have two primary types of the cartilages in the skeleton. We have a third, which is elastic cartilage, which we're going to find in some other places, okay? But in the skeleton, we're going to find two primary types of cartilage. These are hyaline cartilage and fiber cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is very, very tough. It's very strong. This is what's going to be found covering the ends of all of our bones. Anytime two bones are going to come together, they're going to be protected by hyaline cartilage, okay? These are also going to be found inside some of our long bones as we're still growing, okay? If y'all are younger than, say, 22 or 23, you actually still have a little bit of hyaline cartilage found in the ends of your long bones as your bones are as they're finishing fusing together, okay? Now, that is actually one of the places, or how we're going to grow is by using the growth plates of hyaline cartilage in the ends of our long bones. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the ends of them especially are going to be covered in hyaline cartilage. Fiber cartilage, on the other hand, is going to be incredibly tough. We find it in between our vertebrae, in between our pubic bones, and in our knees. We use the same cartilage to protect our knee as we do to protect our spine. That should tell you, one, how much force your knee is under, and two, how important your knees are. If your knees go out 200,000 years ago, you are no longer useful. You cannot walk, which means you cannot carry things. If something is chasing you, you get caught. Oh yeah, and you can't chase things to go out, so you can neither find food nor carry food, and all you really do is become food. That is how important our knees are. Thus, we protect them and cushion them using the same stuff that we use to protect our spinal cord. Kind of cool. Now, like I said before, we also are going to have ligaments, which we're going to use to connect bone to bone. Now, you've likely heard of tendons. So if you think about like the Achilles tendon or something like that, that is going to connect muscle to bone, okay? They're both made out of the same material. They're both going to be made out of dense, regular connective tissue, so big sheets of collagen, okay? But ligaments are going to connect bone to bone, while tendons will connect muscles to bones. So here we can see all of the hyaline cartilage. So all the blue up here is hyaline cartilage. The red, so if you were to blow this up, you'd see red here, here, and here. Now, one of the reasons that we use fiber cartilage in our pubic symphysis is because every time you go to take a step, you're transferring weight from one leg to the next. As that happens, your hip bones are going to have to flex right there. Because they are not rigid, they have to have some amount of movement, and they're going to be, as you're transferring weight, one of the places that we can transfer that weight and something that we can move to allow that transfer of weight to be a little easier is actually right there at our pubic symphysis. Thus, we have our fiber cartilage. That joint is also regularly dislocated during childbirth, especially like the more traumatic childbirths and things like that can dislocate that joint, which sounds horrific. Like I've dislocated a finger before and that sucked. Like can't imagine dislocating like my pubic bones. That just sounds like it wouldn't be fun. Now, bones do lots of stuff other than just act for support and protection. That part of stuff was probably fairly straightforward. Already kind of assumed that. We also probably assumed they're acting for levers of movement. If you want to move your skeleton, you have to, or in order for your muscles to move anything, they have to have something to attach to. If your muscles can't attach to a bone, they won't be able to move that region, okay? So if you've seen the second Harry Potter movie and his arm just becomes that like loose noodle, it is completely useless now. Those muscles don't do anything if they don't have anything to attach to, okay? That's why part of that would be so scary. Okay. Now, hematopoiesis is also very, very important. This means making blood cells. Hema is blood, poiesis is to make. Hematopoiesis, blood making. Okay. This happens in our red bone marrow. Now, red bone marrow is going to be found in a couple places. It's going to be found in the heads of our femur and humerus, as well as in the spongy bone of our axial skeleton. Okay. So it's going to be found in the spongy bone of our axial skeleton, so our skull, our vertebral column, our thoracic cage, as well as in the heads of our femur and in the heads of our humerus. That's about it. Now, stored in the yellow marrow of our long bones, we're going to find some fat and stuff like that. And your bones themselves are also going to act as a storage for calcium. Okay. We know that calcium is going to be the most predominant kind of chemical that we're going to find in bones. They're basically at their core a calcium and phosphate reserve. Okay. Those are the primary chemicals that make up the hard part of the bony matrix. It's just calcium phosphate. Okay. That means our body, if it needs calcium and we're not getting it in our diet because we're not drinking milk, we're not eating green vegetables and stuff like that, we have to get that calcium somewhere. It will get that calcium through our bones. So a lot of times what will happen as folks get older and they start eating a little bit less, they're also probably just going to be taking it because they're eating less, it's less likely that they're getting all the nutrients and stuff that they need. Especially considering they're probably not going to be drinking something like milk, which is very nutrient dense, right? You could fill up, this is literally my lunch today, is this cup of milk and coffee. I wish that were not the case, but I forgot my food, and it is what it is. It's a coffee kind of day anyway. But when you're not drinking your milk and stuff like that, you're not eating enough vegetables to get all the calcium. Well, your muscles and your nerves have to have calcium in order to function. So what they'll do is they will go steal it from your bones. But what do you think happens to your bones in that scenario? It makes it weak. Exactly. We're taking away the part of your bones that makes them strong, so your bones become weaker, which means you become far more likely to break them. Okay? So it is very important for us to get enough of those minerals, especially in our diet, to make sure that that does not happen. So make sure your grandma drinks her milk. I'm also going to tell you something else to make sure your grandma's doing too here in just a little bit. Now, we can talk about bones in a couple ways. We can talk about them molecularly or kind of microscopically, so spongy, compact. We can also talk about them based on shape. So we have 4 major shape classes. We have long, short, flat, and irregular. All of these tell you what they are. A flat bone is, you guessed it, flat. Okay? This is a bone that is going to be composed of 2 thin layers of compact bone, one on the outside, one on the inside, and then a layer of spongy bone in the middle. Okay? They're not going to be terribly heavy, but we have smoothness on the outside and the inside, protecting what's inside from the squishy bits of spongy bone, but also giving us some strength and basically acting as a shield. Now, these bones are almost always going to be curved, okay? Because they're going to basically act as a shield around the thing they are covering. In the case of the brain, well, the brain is round, thus the bones around the brain also have to be rounded. The same thing goes for your ribs. Your ribs are flat bones, even though they're this kind of C shape. Why? Well, because they're still very flat, they're very thin, and they're composed of the same compact, spongy, compact sort of sandwich. Okay. Now, long bones are long. They are longer than they are wide, thus long bones. That's fairly straightforward. And we're going to look at kind of the makeup of the bone in these in just a second. And then we've got short bones. Short bones are little blocks. We're going to find these little blocks in 2 places. We're going to find these little blocks in our carpal region and our tarsal region. Okay. So these are basically just little blocky bones. They are just as long as they are wide, but we still have this same compact, spongy, compact sort of scenario where the outside is going to be compact bone and the inside is going to be filled with spongy bone. They're just going to be a little bit larger than our flat bones will. But a big part of that is going to be because these are load bearing. We are putting weight and stuff through these. So because of that, they have to be able to deal with those forces a little bit. So there will be some varying ratios of compact and spongy depending on what we need. Then lastly, we have irregular. Irregular bones are very simply bones that are neither long short, nor flat. Or we'll have parts and pieces to them that are long or short or flat. And there's some combination of all of these. Because of that, they are irregularly shaped, and thus we will call them irregular bones. Good examples of this is going to be things like your vertebrae. Horrible person. I just think together. The circle rather than having a move segment. All right. Now, when we look at a long bone, we can break it down into a few main pieces. Okay. So here we have a long bone. We have the central region in the middle, which we're going to call the diaphysis. That's kind of the central region here, which you might call the shaft of the bone. Okay. Then we have these enlarged portions on the end, which we're going to call epiphysis. Now, we have one on the end that's close to the joint, and we have one end that's further away from the body trunk. The end that's close to the body trunk is the proximal epiphysis. The one that is further away is going to be the what? Distal. It's that simple. Okay, so distal epiphysis is the enlarged portion away from the joint, or sorry, away from the body trunk. Proximal is going to be the one that's closer to the body trunk. So this is the humerus, for those of y'all that are wanting a little bit of perspective. So here we have the humerus. Now, we have the wide portion here and the wide portion down here. Well, when those wide portions go to get narrow, so they kind of have this Y-shaped region as they're getting either smaller or larger, we're going to call those kind of Y-shaped regions, we're going to call that a metaphysis. Okay, so metaphysis is basically the region where we are getting going either from wide to narrow or from narrow to wide. Does that make sense? So proximal epiphysis through metaphysis into the diaphysis, and then metaphysis, and then finally distal epiphysis. Okay, so from broad to narrow to broad again. What this is going to allow us to do, this is going to allow us to spread forces out. Okay, there's a lot of force right here in the center region of this bone. Okay, you can put a lot of stress on this particular part, whether it's torsional stress as things are being twisted, or whether it's just weight simply landing on this one little square inch of space. Okay. Out on the ends, we broaden that out so that we can spread that force out over as much area as we possibly can at these joints. We do that to protect the joints. By spreading all this out, we get less force. Okay. Or at the very least, less force per unit area in that area. So we spread it out just to make things a little bit easier on the joints. Okay. Now, in the ends of the bones, you'll notice that it looks like it's very, very holy up here. This looks like the inside of a sponge. So if you were to cut a sponge open, it would look very much like this. Mostly holes with some stuff kind of in between them. That means this is our spongy bone. We're going to have that same thing down here. But the shaft of the bone, where we have a whole lot of weight in a small area, this is going to be entirely composed of compact bone. However, it's going to be compact bone around a central opening filled with yellow bone marrow. The red bone marrow is going to be up here. Okay. Now, all of your bones are going to be fed with blood vessels. That's because your bones are alive. Now, as we zoom in, we're going to see that the outsides of our bones are going to be covered in a thin layer of connective tissue that we're going to call the periosteum. It's got two main parts. We have the fibrous layer, which is this outer region, and then the innermost region, so touching the calcium phosphate. So these little lines right here you see are basically calcium phosphate minerals in this little region right here. Okay, this is a ring of calcium phosphate on the outside of the bone. So we are touching the surface of the bony matrix at this point. Touching that surface is going to be a cellular layer. These cells are going to be called osteoblasts. Their job is to secrete bony matrix. So they will be secreting additional calcium phosphate onto the outside of the bone if we have enough calcium phosphate in our diet and we have the need for them inside our bones. Now, we can also see one of the other bone cells, and that's going to be these little guys right here. These are osteocytes. So these osteocytes are basically going to be these little star-shaped looking cells that live inside this space. So they live inside these little cavities called a lacuna, and then they've got these little feeler regions which are going to reach out through these little holes called canaliculi. The inside of the bone is going to look very similar. We still have osteocytes and a lacuna. We still have calcium phosphate bony matrix. But now we have a new type of cell here. This one is going to be called an osteoclast. Osteoclasts are going to break down bony matrix. So say your grandma is not getting enough calcium in her diet, so we need more calcium in the blood. These osteoclasts will take that up and get that calcium into the blood where it can be used by our muscles or our nerves or whatever we may need. These are still osteoblasts, so these are still going to be cells here that will secrete bony matrix on the inside should we need to do so. So here we have a flat bone. Notice that we're going to go compact, spongy, compact, where we have periosteum on either side. Now, one of the things that we talked about for bones as being very important is that making of our blood cells, that hematopoiesis. Now, hematopoiesis is going to occur in red bone marrow, which we're going to find in our irregular bones and in the heads of the humerus and the femur. Everything else is going to be found in the marrow of our flat bones and our irregular bones in our axial skeleton. Now, one of the things that I kind of hinted at a little bit already is that our bones are alive. Okay, we have blood vessels running to them and through them because we need to make sure that the cells that are in the bones get all the nutrients that they need to stay alive, and they can get rid of all their waste products and stuff like that. I also mentioned that we change the makeup of our bones. If you wanted to be a UFC fighter, this is Jean-Claude Van Damme, by the way. Okay, this is a movie from like when I was like 2 or 3. Okay, so this is an old ass movie. Okay, however, he is kicking a palm tree. If you've seen Shang-Chi, there's that scene in Shang-Chi of him punching a post in his bedroom when he's a kid, punching it so hard and so often that he like makes his hands bleed. And he does that all the time. That's actually legitimately a real way of making your bones stronger. Because if you do this over and over and over again, your bones will secrete enough bony matrix and you're getting enough nutrients. They're going to realize that they are under stress. We have nerves running through all of your bones as well, monitoring how much stress is being placed on those bones. If you place a bunch of stress on your bones, what do you need to do? Just like if you put a bunch of stress on your muscles, what do your muscles do? They get stronger, they grow. The same thing goes for your bones. Your bones will get stronger as you subject them to additional stress. So you start out by kicking a tree a little bit, and as you get stronger, you can kick the tree harder. Your bones will thus get stronger until you can kick the tree really, really, really hard, like he's doing right here, where he can kick it full force and his leg does not break. Why do you do that? So that when you kick someone else's leg and they haven't kicked the tree, one bone breaks, one does not. Guess who wins the fight? The one whose leg does not break. And all because you can train your bones. This is also one of the reasons why, if your grandma goes to the doctor, she will be told to lift weights, to do resistance training, walk more. Do like the little tiny weight machines like in the cardiac rehab centers and stuff like that. Don't put a ton of weight, like she's not trying to be like a bodybuilder or something like that. But doing resistance training is putting more stress on your muscles, but as your muscles get stronger, they are putting more stress on your bones. So your bones have to get stronger. So if your bones are trying to get stronger, guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to give up that calcium to your blood and to your nerves, so your bones don't break whenever you fall down. That is actually very, very important. This is also very important if, say, you are the kind of person that wanted to get bigger, fitter, and stronger and stuff like that. You need to make sure that you are getting enough calcium in your diet too, so that you can make sure your bones are keeping up with the strength that you are adding to your muscles. Because sometimes those two things can get confused and you can actually mess up your bones and stuff like that because they're not as strong as you think they are. Also, like going back to the fighting thing, it's also very common for, or even football, for people that did the sport for a long time and they don't train the contact part of it as much anymore. So they don't train the contact part. for football. And then what happens? They get into a football game and then someone hits them really hard. Well, if they haven't been doing the contact part, their bones haven't been receiving the signal that they need to be bigger and stronger. So guess what happens to their bones? They will break. That's actually a fairly common injury for older football players that are kind of skipping training camp, or fighters and stuff that stop training as hard and sparring and stuff like that because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to have to recover from all those things, but it also makes them a little bit weaker, so they're more likely to get drastically injured. And if you want to see this kind of thing happen, you can just search like UFC leg break and watch this happening over and over and over again, like on videos that have hundreds of millions of views. It's kind of entertaining. And it's going to look very much similar to that Jean-Claude Van Damme picture I just showed you. I thought about putting the videos of one of those things happening in here for me to just like have on loop in the background while I was talking, because there's literally a GIF of something like GIFs of some of them happening. But I figured y'all might not like that. Might be a little too graphic. But if you're the kind of person that finds that stuff interesting, Google it. It's fun. All of this is done by osteoblasts, osteoclasts, and osteocytes. Osteoblasts build bone. B for blast, B for build. They are going to synthesize bony matrix, secrete osteoid, which is part of our bony matrix. Okay. Whenever they get trapped in the matrix that they are secreting, they will become osteocytes. Osteocytes are here to detect stress on the bone and then trigger new bone formation if we need it. On the other side of things, we have those osteoclasts, which in my opinion are the coolest looking cells we have in our body. This looks like some sort of terrible monster from a horror movie from the 60s. Okay. All these purple dots are nuclei. These are big multinucleated cells. We have these big kind of feeler-like tentacles reaching down into the bony matrix so that they can eat up the bony matrix that we do not need, so that they can put that calcium back into the body. So clasts break bone, blasts build bone. Okay. Now we can actually see osteoblasts and osteoclasts in these micrographs. So whenever we look in the microscopes here in a second at our bone, I will point out the osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Now, one fun thing with bone tissue is, like I said before, it is primarily going to be composed of calcium phosphate. Okay. This calcium phosphate is going to interact with a different calcium salt called calcium hydroxide. Okay. These two things, or I guess it's not technically salt, will interact with calcium hydroxide. These two things are going to form a crystal that we call hydroxyapatite. The hardness of particular bones is going to be determined by the proportion of hydroxyapatite we find in those bones. Okay. Where hydroxyapatite is incredibly, incredibly strong, while also at the same time being somewhat brittle. Okay. We account for the brittleness of these calcium phosphate minerals and stuff like that by adding in collagen. Okay. So these crystals of calcium phosphate and other calcium containing minerals are going to be found around collagen fibers. So we're going to find a collagen fiber, and then all around it, we will find these calcium salts. Okay. So the collagen is going to be there to allow the bone to resist breaking. Okay. So they're going to resist kind of torsional stress with the collagen fibers, whereas the compressional strength is actually going to come from the calcium phosphate stuff. So the hard part, so the calcium stuff, is what's going to make them resist compression. They resist breakage side to side because of the collagen. Okay. Now, hydroxyapatite is going to be found in really, really, really high concentrations. In fact, it's the only thing that you're really going to find in your tooth enamel. Okay. So if you were to take that skeleton back there, that's a real one, the one on the left. If you were to take those bones and throw them in an incinerator, like say you happens at every funeral home out here, like when someone gets cremated, you're going to get left with a bunch of powder. It's left over of all of the other organic stuff that was in there. So all the bones and stuff is going to become this powder, but you're also going to find teeth. You will still find their teeth because it's hard to heat the teeth up hot enough to where they degrade, because they are entirely this chemical of hydroxyapatite. The reason that your teeth are so damn hard is because of that one chemical. That's all there really is there in the enamel of your teeth. Okay. That's also why that is what's sometimes left over after bodies are burned and stuff like that, are their teeth.
Mhm. Yeah, the tooth enamel and stuff like that is what doesn't really decay very well. Yep. It also fossilizes really, really, really well. All right, now some parts of our bone are going to undergo calcification. That's to say, they're going to become more mineral-like over time. So this means we're kind of building bone out of what was cartilage before. This process requires vitamin D, vitamin C, and of course the minerals, so your calcium and your phosphate, for this to work. Okay. Now, this is what's going to happen in places like your long bones as they're trying to grow, as well as kind of around the bones of the skull. Now, compact bone is pretty nifty. So remember, compact bone is we're going to find on the outsides of all of our bones, and especially in the shafts of our long bones and stuff. This is what we're going to get strength. It's also very, very heavy. These are going to be arranged in what we call osteons. Okay. They're little cylinders. And all of them are going to be around a central canal. Okay, so these are all just little concentric rings that we're going to take this concentric ring and we're going to butt it up against another concentric ring and butt it up against another concentric ring, and then we're going to fill the space in between them with bony matrix as well. So all the tan color that you see up here is nothing but calcium phosphate, calcium hydroxide, and cartilage, or not cartilage, and collagen. That's it. It is incredibly dense. That is why it is so heavy. Okay, is because it is just so dense. However, we have holes running through them. The center of each of these targets is a little canal. This is our central canal, or our Haversian canal. Okay, and notice that we have three things: an artery, a vein, and a nerve. Which means the signals that these osteocytes send whenever they're saying, hey, we are under this much stress, that signal will be carried through that nerve to the brain so that you know, hey, this is happening. So if I'm, say, like grabbing onto this and I'm moving, like I'm putting some pressure here and I'm bending my bones. Okay, if you're looking at it from the side, you can literally see that my bones are bending right now. Okay, I am putting enough stress on here to make the bones bend. They are sending a signal to my brain that says, hey, my bone is bending and it's bending this much under this much tension. It's also saying, hey, you should probably stop doing that. Okay, I knew where to stop applying tension because it started to hurt, because it was saying, hey, much further than this and you are risking breaking the bone. Okay, one of those signals says, hey, that's enough. Like if someone is wrestling with you or bending your arm or something like that, it's doing that to tell you, hey, there's a chance that you could break your bone. Okay, that signal of how much tension or how much stress is being running through there, it's going to come from the osteocytes in these rings, which then gets sent through that nerve. That also means, should that nerve break, like when the bone breaks, there's going to be one signal coming through that nerve, and that is ow. Ow, 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 ow. That's the only signal that will come up through there, and it's going to send a lot of it. So much so that if it happens on this bone, this is a femur, or say here in your humerus, usually that signal is so strong that you don't remember it. You go to sleep. It just overrides everything. Your brain's like, okay, cool, I get it, go to bed. Well, hopefully someone is around you to help you solve this scenario. Okay, simply because of the amount of that pain signal that's going to be coming through that nerve whenever these bones break. Because it's not just happening in one spot. It's happening thousands of times around the entire circumference of the bone. Okay. Now, we call these little rings lamellae. So if this is an osteon, each ring of our target symbol here is a lamella. We need to connect these osteocytes out here to these blood vessels and nerves in the middle and into the osteocytes in the other inner layers. So we're going to do that through these little tiny canals called canaliculi. Okay, so the little tiny canals that these feelers of our osteocyte are going to reach through, we're going to call those canaliculi. So central canal with our blood vessels and nerves, concentric lamellae, and then we're going to call these little lines the canaliculi. Now, one other fun thing is happening here in our concentric rings. Our collagen fibers in different concentric rings are going to be at right angles to one another. This is going to make sure that we have torsional strength in every direction. Because we alternate one angle to the next, we're going to make sure that we are getting that strength of our collagen in all directions. So it doesn't matter if I take this bone and bend it front to back or left to right, that we still have strength in all of those directions. Spongy bone looks a little different. Spongy bone is going to be these little bridges. Notice that it's mostly empty space, and we're going to see these little bridges of bone. We still see our bony matrix here in these sort of somewhat ring structures, but not around a central canal. We also see that our endosteum is right up next to the surface. We can also find osteoclasts in these too, but we have a whole lot of empty space. In that space is going to be our red bone marrow, okay? So our red bone marrow is what we're going to find in these empty spaces. So this one, what kind of bone do you think this is? We see a central canal and little concentric rings around them. So this would be what? Compact. Very good. What about this one? Well, we still have a central canal. We still see little rings. So compact. Very good. This is just a different type of microscope viewing. Okay. This one, bridge, bridge, space, space. This is our spongy bone. Okay. Now, we do need to grow our bone in some cases from membranes. Particularly, this is going to happen during very early childhood as we are fusing together the bones of the skull. The bones of the skull cannot be fused together during childbirth. Otherwise, it doesn't flex. And if they don't flex, two things happen. One, if the head is at all large, it will get lodged in the birth canal and mom and baby die. Option two is that head does come out, but it breaks on the way out and mom and baby die. Because usually when that happens, that's also causing enough trauma on the inside of the mother's birth canal that she'll also die from like hemorrhagic bleeding. Okay. The other option is that the bones aren't fused together so that the head is somewhat squishy so that it can cone head its way out of the birth canal and thus mom and baby survive. Okay. However, we also don't want the bones to be fused together even then. Like it can't fuse together right after childbirth because something fun happens. And that is that little kids' brains grow 3 times faster than the bones can. The bones cannot keep up with the growth that the infant brain will go through. If you've ever seen a cute kid, one of the reasons kids are cute is because their heads are out of proportion to the rest of their body. Like, I have this much area of my arms outside of my head. If I were 6 months old, I wouldn't be able to touch my hands together because I would be touching my head. This is how big my head would need to be if I were a 6-month-old to be in the same proportion as my arms currently are. Granted, my arms are ridiculously long, so it's a little unfair, so slightly exaggerated. But that's crazy. Like, crazy size. Why? Because their brains have to grow a lot because a lot of things are happening in their body and their brains need to control it all. Okay. However, bone doesn't grow nearly as fast as that. So bones aren't fused together so the brain can grow really, really quickly. And then we're just going to fuse the bones together once the brain has slowed down its growth. Okay. As the brain has slowed down its growth, we're going to then take the little membranes in those fontanelles and we're going to close them up. We're going to do that by starting with some osteocytes. Those osteocytes, well, what do osteocytes, not osteocytes, osteoblasts, what do? They build bone, right? So they're going to secrete that bony matrix. So they're going to secrete some bony matrix in this spot. And they're going to continue doing that. And this spot's going to get larger and larger and larger. And then it's going to interact with another spot that some other osteoblasts started building bone in. And we're going to start building this large section of bone in that little area until eventually we have fused together the entire thing. Because we're also going to be growing from the edges of the bone. So the edges of the bones will kind of grow in, but we're also going to start some growth just like this in the middle of those fontanelles to start reaching out towards the edges of the other bone growth. So eventually they will fuse together, replace everything with lamellar bone, and then we're good to go. So the bones harden off. So then it's totally okay for you to go like this on the head of the baby, and everything is fine because everything's hard. I used to actually enjoy messing with the fontanelles on our kids' heads as they were like growing. Because it was literally like hard, 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 not hard. Yeah, basically. I'm a terrible person. I also like whenever we're like whenever I'm cleaning animals and stuff like that, I'm literally naming muscle groups as I'm taking them apart. Just to keep myself entertained. Because like when you're breaking down a deer, like this thing weighs 120 pounds. Like there's a lot of stuff going on right here. You get bored because it takes like 30 or 40 minutes. So it's like, okay, this is this, is this, is this. I'm very strange. It'll be okay. All right, now we also have to ossify in the ends of our long bones. In our long bones, once we are born, the moment you're born, you basically start to put stress onto these long regions of your long bones. Okay. At least fairly early on. Okay. The bones stop being flexible after a little bit. That's because these have to be load bearing. In order for a child to crawl, well, the bones of their arms, the bones of their legs have to be able to support that weight. So they need some strength in the center of the bone to be able to do so. However, we still need the bones to lengthen. So in the epiphyses of our bones, we're going to find big bands of hyaline cartilage. Okay. And those big bands of hyaline cartilage are going to stay in the epiphyses of the long bones. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be pushing new cells down towards the diaphysis or towards the diaphysis, lengthening the diaphysis with new bone. So they're going to be undergoing what we call endochondral. So inside the cartilage ossification. So they're going to be ossifying as we're making new cartilage cells. We replicate, make a whole bunch of new cartilage cells. We push those cartilage cells towards the shaft of the bone. As they get closer and closer and closer, they calcify. After they calcify, then they ossify. So they take the collagen fibers that we find in hyaline cartilage, they start to mineralize them. So they calcify around those, and then they become ossified once they get to the diaphysis, and we have new bone. Okay. Now, as we stop growing, which usually happens around the age of 22, 23 or so, we stop growing entirely, and we will no longer find these little bands of hyaline cartilage in the ends of our bones. And those bones will then fuse, and that ossification site will move up, 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 and up until we eventually ossify the whole thing. And you're going to be left with these lines of compact bone in the epiphyses of the long bones. Once you find those fused or those ossified sections, and you basically find this hard section in the ends of the long bones, we know that we have stopped growing. Like I said, this is usually around the ages of 22 or 23 or so. But usually some growth does occur even after high school age and stuff like that. You will still grow a little bit, at least by small amounts over the next couple of years. I know I ended up growing something like half an inch after high school. I actually know one person who grew like 3 or 4. He was lucky though, because he was short as hell in high school. Now he's like slightly shorter than average. Yet he drives a really tall truck for some reason. Never understood it. Yeah, let me just jump into my car. Now, if I were short, I would like take advantage of that and drive like a Porsche or something like that. Which something that's so low that it's hard for me to get into. That's what I would drive. Like just show off that way. But who am I? All right. So this is what that epiphyseal plate looks like. So we have our resting cartilage up here. We proliferate those cartilage cells. They come down here. They start to get larger. So that's why it says hypertrophic. So you notice that the cells kind of get these little circular structures around them. Once we get down here, you start to lose some of those nuclei. This is because we are starting to ossify or calcify in here. We calcify, and then we get into this region down here where they start to become bone-like. So this is our ossification. So these are the main zones that we're going through in our plates. Now, this is an example of an X-ray. So we can see these dense regions of bone. Would you say that this is a child or an adult? I want you to pay attention to these lines. So what do you think? Kid or an adult? Why? I know, it's okay. Hey, contact's loose. They haven't fused all the way. Exactly. The reason we can see these light sections right here is because this isn't bone. This is cartilage. Okay. This is that growth line right here, that growth plate. Here's a growth plate, growth plate, growth plate. See how it's kind of fuzzy on the ends? That's because it's not hardened off like it is in the shaft of the bones because we're still lengthening the bones. This is also why, or this is exactly what you would see in an x-ray. Like say you broke your arm, like right now, and you went to the doctor and your doctor would be able to tell you, hey, you have stopped growing because of this. If you don't see this, you've stopped growing. Now, all of this is, of course, going to be related to sex hormones and stuff like that. Males are going to basically add, like, do more bone formation, stuff like that, in addition to all the muscular features and metabolic features. So male skeletons will tend to be heavier just because they're more ossified. You're going to find more calcium has been deposited on the skeleton of a male. And a big part of that is also going to be because of the mechanical stresses that they're placing on them too. Like I said before, with the kicking of things, more stress is going to mean more bone. Stronger muscles will also mean that you have to add more stuff onto the bone. So the rest of that is basically all physiology stuff. So what we're going to do now is I want you all to grab a microscope. We really just need two. So if each pair of people can grab a microscope. So what we're going to do here is we're basically just going to take a look at some spongy bone and some compact bone under the microscope. If you've already done the connective tissue virtual lab, which you probably should have done, this should look at least somewhat familiar.